today talking about the Dallas Cowboys because George Pickens has arrived at Cowboys Minicamp, Mandatory Minicamp, and Pickens has shown up. He was there yesterday to get his physical. He was back there again this morning. The team put out a picture on social media of Pickens walking into the Star earlier this morning. He is there. Brian Schottenheimer says he will take part in practice, at least in some form or fashion. He will not do team, but he will do kind of everything else, it sounds like. And a big step in the right direction toward not having a summer of squabbles for the Dallas Cowboys.
Please.
I'm glad the Cowboys put a photo of him in the building and instead of it just being a rumor or a report. Pics or it didn't happen, right? And so,
Did you see any M dashes? Was it AI?
George
There
M. Dash
were no
Pickens.
M dashes in this post. No.
This is it's we talked about it yesterday. This is great for the Cowboys to have him in the building. Hopefully he becomes more involved. I mean, I can't imagine he's going to be doing much this week, even by day 3. Too much acclamation. But the fact that he's there, present, still a win. Still a win for Cowboys Nation.
And then hopefully we can just put the storyline to bed because I'm tired of filing.
Could you imagine a summer that doesn't involve a Cowboys contract dispute or potential holdout?
We might because of this week, we might actually be there.
I shouldn't say this. This will surely jinx it. Because someone's going to show up to camp and be like, I'm not getting paid enough. I'm going to hold out. Like a Zach Martin 2.0.
Well, that's Jerry injecting himself, going like, we don't have anything this year. Who can we push on the dial here?
Luke Schoonmaker didn't show up to training camp because he demands more on his final year of his rookie deal.
But couldn't this be the summer? Like, if you're Jerry, because I hear you. Jerry always wants everybody talking about his team. And I'm sorry, we do anyway, Jerry. Like, really? It's June the 16th, and we've spent the last 2 months doing nothing but talking about your team.
Would you rather us talk about ball?
Exactly. Like, if you're Jerry Jones, why can't you look at this and go, hey, this is the summer where everybody's going to talk about our football team and the lack of drama, the lack of controversy, the fact that they can all just focus on ball, the fact that they can actually zero in on being a better football team in a time frame where it looks like they could be a decent step better than they were a season ago. What a concept, what a revelation that they could just focus on ball.
Not to throw it back to last week and open up this can of worms for Jonah again, but I think there's a line in there about a golden toilet.
We did this yesterday.
I wasn't here. It's not my fault.
I love the callback.
We got the double golden toilet callback.
2 flushes. Sometimes that's what it takes.
No.
Anyway, we got to hear from Shotty himself. Because Shotty actually spoke with the media today. It was the first time as mandatory. Yes.
Please get to Shotty.
Let's hear from Shotty on Pickens arriving.
There seems to be a genuine desire for Pickens to kind of move past this and just be at the facility and play ball. And I think not that Micah Parsons didn't want to be at the facility and play ball, not that Zeke Elliott didn't want to, or CeeDee Lamb or Des Bryant back in 2015. They all did, but it seems like Pickens, and part of it's probably the franchise tag of it all. This situation is more akin to Des Bryant in 2015 than it is to some of the others that we've seen in the interim. This is not Zeke Elliott's. This is not CeeDee Lamb. This is not Dak Prescott. Like, all of those were situations where they were trying to get a long-term contract but did not have the franchise tag on them.
I was going to say, the only Venn diagram here between Pickens and Parsons is the agent of it all.
Right.
And also the proximity. It literally just happened last year.
Right.
So.
This is Des Bryant in 2015 who had the franchise tag applied to him, and then they came right down to the wire on July 15th and did come to a long-term deal. The difference this year, the Cowboys have already said it, we're not doing that. So it kind of does make sense that he and David Mulugheta and their entire team would go, all right, well, there's no point then in doing any other machinations. Let's just get out there and play ball because that's what I want to do anyway. And I think that the relationship that Pickens has, with, as Shotty talked about, Dak and CeeDee Lamb and Quinnen and Kenny Clark and on and on and on matters. And I think the relationship he has with Shotty matters too. And Shotty talked about that a little bit relative to some of the things that Pickens has been doing in the offseason, including playing a little golf. And listen, that's kind of the long and short of it, because he is here. You know, that felt a little bit like lip service a week ago at OTAs when he wasn't here with the team. Feels an awful lot more substantial now because he has walked in the door. He has shown up. We'll see. I mean, they still haven't yet started practice, but the assertion from Shotty just a little bit ago was he is going to be a part of practice. He is going to do the individual drills. He is going to do some of the pre-team activities. The only thing they're going to hold him out of is the team 11-on-11 stuff. And by the way, Dak Prescott, it sounds like, won't be a part of that as well, dealing with a sore knee. So he's not even missing out on reps with Dak Prescott for that period. If he indeed goes out there on the field and does all of those things and, you know, is working his way back into the locker room, what's the problem? You know, this is rather neatly and quicker than I think many expected a month ago. It almost feels like it's not.
I keep
over
waiting for the other shoe.
I know. Like,
right?
even as
We're
I'm
used
saying
to
the
it.
sentence, like,
We're used to
is
it.
it really over? It feels like it couldn't possibly be over, but it does kind of feel like this brings the whatever controversy there was, and the controversy was smaller this offseason than it's been in other recent years. It kind of feels like it's done.
Well, think about it. He's rep by David Mulugeta, who knows this song and dance probably better than anyone in terms of agents in the NFL. If he's the one who's probably signing off on Pickens attending minicamp, he knows the reality of the situation. We don't have much leverage here. We don't have a whole lot of options. You need to go make yourself look good on the field, off the field. That's your only choice. And by holding out, would not have looked good with the Cowboys, would not have looked good around the NFL, could potentially tarnish potential contract down the road, especially a long-term type of deal. Because you got to think about it. These teams are going to hitch tens of millions of dollars to these guys in a long-term contract. They need to feel somewhat comfortable with you as a person and that your ability to show up and take this seriously as a job and not be a liability. Him showing up is part of this process. Yeah. Again, Micah showed up to everything last year, and I thought that was going to be a precursor to a contract getting done. But there was some stuff towards the finish line there that just it just flipped a 180. With George, again, it's a different contract situation. The franchise tag is a different situation, and him showing up to minicamp kind of says what you need to know regarding how this is going to play out. I would be stunned at this point if he's not at training camp.
Right. And to think on top of it, him being there just plays into the thing that Shotty has been trying to build since he stepped foot in the building. But even as an offensive coordinator, you could sit there and say kind of laying the ground roots for, which is the culture. And it's been the biggest talking point around this team heading into last year, trying to get joy involved. And if Pickens is actually bringing that mantra, there's a lot more joy when wide receiver number 1/2 is on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a trickle-down effect.
Exactly. So sure. I think it affects the whole roster in a number of different ways, just from oh, thank goodness we don't have to go through this again.
I think this is also Pickens' opportunity to directly respond to some of the thinly veiled comments from Cowboys brass in the last couple of months relative to why he wasn't going to get a long-term deal, and some of the discussion about his maturity level and some of there were only a couple of moments last year, a couple of blips on the radar where there was any sort of issue, but there were some blips, and evidently they wanted to see one more year of proof of concept, go out there and ball out and also show us your maturity level. This kind of feels like him saying, all right, bet. Here I am. Let's go.
The problem is those blips happened on national TV and a pivotal point for the season.
It happened in the biggest game of the year, man.
Exactly.
It happened in the biggest game of the year, in the most crucial time. I mean, I remember watching that game. I think I was in D.C. for the World Cup draw selection, and I'm sitting there having dinner after the end of it, watching the Cowboys play the Lions. And I'm like, where is George Pickens? It's not like he was double-teamed. He just wasn't in the game. It's like somebody had flipped the switch off in the back of his head. Like, that's the kind of stuff that if you want to get big dog receiver money, you cannot have those blips. You can have CD drops against the Eagles, I guess.
It's
which
like
is
the only blip on his career.
which is the most bizarre storyline. Is that he just drops the ball against the Eagles all the time. But outside, other than that, you know what you're getting with him.
Right.
Occasionally the drops are an issue, whatever, but that's it. The commitment's there. With George, if you're not sure about him off the field, if you're not sure about him staying engaged in big moments, that raises concerns, especially if you're going to be handing over a big contract. Now, the Cowboys can say all they want about, we want to see another year of this. We want to see it. They could go franchise tag him again.
Yeah.
They could kick this can again. They could never sign him to a long-term deal if they don't want to.
Right.
They could franchise and trade him away to some team to go wither away for the rest of his career.
But you also risk undercutting his mental fortitude at that point because he's sitting there going like, if I keep doing what you ask me to do and you're not going to pay me what I'm worth, then something's going to tank, either performance or whether his willingness to be on the field at all. Like there are certain elements.
But that's my point with this whole leverage deal
Yes.
is that he doesn't have the leverage in this situation. You start tanking, you're going to tank your own next contract. You've got to play because that's what teams are going to judge and base you off of. Mm-hmm. If you sit out a year, teams aren't going to pay top dollar for a guy who just sat out.
No, that was never a realistic.
No, it was never going to happen.
But
again,
he's now
thanks
coming,
Le'Veon Bell. But.
Well, yes, yes. But now he is coming back earlier than I think we thought. Like I thought it was just going to be at training camp. I thought he was going to skip mandatory minicamp and he was going to show up for training camp. He's coming back a step earlier. He didn't come in for voluntary OTAs, but he is there for mandatory minicamp, and it sounds like he's going to be participating. He's not just going to be a fly on the wall watching practice. Is this the beginning of his effort to say, I'm going to do what y'all need me to do, and not just Cowboys y'all, but the league.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I need to do to show everybody that I'm not the guy that I was in Pittsburgh. I'm not even the guy that I was in that game in Detroit. I've grown up. I'm going to do all these things that I'm supposed to do.
Sitting out the
as
first
a pro.
drive against the Raiders with CD.
Yeah, well, that was
It's
both
a different
of them.
circumstance.
It was
there,
both
too.
of them, but
Yeah.
it was still involved Pickens.
Yeah. Is this the beginning of his effort to show everybody, all right, I'm a professional now. I'm going to do the things I need to do from a professional standpoint, and oh, by the way, I'm also going to kill it on Sundays.
My takeaway from some of this stuff, and it's not necessarily right to judge somebody on it, but Pickens is going into his fifth year.
I think it's his fifth year because he had 3 with Pittsburgh, one with Dallas.
This is not his first or
Fifth
second
year,
year. Like the grace period is over.
Yes.
Like you either take this seriously or you don't. Right? Like if you're going to
sure.
show up, like if you're showing up late to meetings or whatever, if you're just a passenger in your own career, then how is anybody going to want to take it seriously to, pay you out a big sum of money? And before you know it, he's going to hit the 27 age marker, and then teams are going to really wonder if it's worth a long-term contract. He might get caught in purgatory. Like he might get caught in that limbo of teams are going to want to pay him that big money contract, that type of market-setting contract.
It is interesting,
he just
though.
turned 25 2
Right.
months ago.
Right, but
that-
again, if they do another franchise tag next year, he's 26, and then at the end of that season, he'd be 27.
But that and his early formative years happened in a fairly laissez-faire locker room in Pittsburgh. I mean, they let personality shine in Pittsburgh. They didn't really care that much. Like Tomlin ran a ship, but it was basically do your own thing and we'll meet on Sunday.
But he's been like this forever. You watch his tape at Georgia. This is just who he's a madman on the field, and you're just not fully sure what Georgia is off the field.
But because George is a renowned, great locker room experience, I'm just saying, where Dallas is concerned, this feels like an actual structure for him to grow in, right? Like this is an environment.
Who would have thought we'd ever say that about
I
the
know.
Cowboys?
I know. I'm serious. It's the first thing to come to mind. I'm sitting there going he's got someone that obviously cares about him in Schottenheimer as your head coach. Dak and CD have been in his ear the entire time. If you want a supportive environment, this is about as good as you're going to get, man, especially in terms of the resources and what the Cowboys have.
It's the culture concept, right?
Yeah.
Is you need to have guys that want to be there. If you have a team full of guys that are just showing up to collect paychecks or just kind of punching in and punching out, that's not going to build culture. It's not going to help morale. It's true in any corporate industry. You need people that want to be there, to want to show up. And if he wants to be there, then we're going to get the best version of George Pickens. But if he doesn't, then what is going to show up on the field? So it's the whole cultural concept is great in terms of promoting it in the offseason and in the summer.
Right.
Like the Cowboys are 30-time offseason Super Bowl champions. But that doesn't win you one in February. So it certainly seems like this team is far more unified than we've seen, and maybe since the Jason Witten era. But the group seems far more solid than maybe in the last handful of years.
The Witten era had its clicks, and I mean, I suppose every locker room is going to have that to some degree.
But I'm talking in terms of like Hall of Fame level leaders on a roster.
Yeah,
they just don't have a ton of those guys anymore. Like this is all a bunch of guys kind of still waiting for their breakthroughs.
Yeah.